Welcome to the Making Up the Numbers podcast. The Making Up the Numbers podcast is sponsored by Hope Technology, Revolution Bike Park, Schwal, and the world's finest independent mountain bike magazine, Singletrack.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of season 2 of the Making Up the Numbers podcast. I'm George Thompson, and after the success of last week's podcast with Danny Hart, we're straight back at it on Zoom this week. And once again, the video will be available if you prefer to watch us on the Singletrack YouTube channel. Co-hosting with me tonight, once again, is Jack Redding. How are we, Jack?
Evening, George. I'm okay. Been doing some riding, doing some gym work. I'm running out of things to jet wash at home, so.
Me too.
Been there, Been there. I've even jet washed the fence twice now.
Oh, fence, shed. Even the dog's starting to get worried now. Whenever he goes in the garden, he's like, "Oh God."
So in 2019, there were 8 rounds of the UCI World Cup plus the World Championships. That's 9 races. And out of those 9 races in the elite men's category, there were only 4 winners. 2 of them were French, Loic Bruni and Amaury Piron. 2 of them were British. And last week, we had one of those Brits, Danny Hart, on the show. This week, we're absolutely delighted to welcome the other one. Welcome to the show, Laurie Greenland.
Hey, thank you very much.
Where in the world? All good, mate. Where in the world are you at the moment? And how are you getting on with the social distancing?
So yeah, I'm in Bristol at the minute, my hometown, and just living in a flat with my girlfriend. But yeah, we were so last minute. I saw Jack in Portugal, I think, and we were so last minute coming into the season with our sort of bikes, our kit, everything. That it was actually quite nice to know the first one had been delayed, but after that, I soon got pretty bored. So yeah, I'm still making the most out of my home trails and stuff, but it's getting pretty boring, really. So
Are you managing to get some training done?
yeah, I was lucky enough that Red Bull sent me out a bit of a home gym, so I don't have a very big space here. It's just set up next to me here, but yeah, I was lucky enough that Red Bull sent me out a bit of a care package. So yeah, we're keeping in shape, but I don't think it's possible for us to stay on that peak just where we were a few weeks back until we race again. So we're in a little bit of a trough, hoping to come out sometime in summer. But yeah, I'm just taking it along. I'm not going crazy at the moment, but yeah,
good stuff.
Getting pretty bored.
Look, we don't usually go that far back on this podcast as we try and focus on the racing. But there's no racing at the moment, and I can't recall you doing a podcast previously. Have you done one before?
No, I don't think I have. I've
cool.
been, I kind of, a lot of the time, I just try and let riding do most of the speaking, but in times like this, I think it's important to do it as well. So.
Do everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, we've not got any racing to focus on, so let's go back a little bit further. I know you and Jack get on pretty well, and there's a few things he wants to ask you about. So I'll let you start, Jack. Over to you.
Cheers, George. So yeah, Laurie, great to have you on the podcast, like George said. I want to start by saying that around the pitch, you're known as being a very humble, very modest guy, but you're also a very, very confident person to be around. I've been told by people, I think it was Ollie Morris, that you didn't go through the traditional schooling system when you were younger. Talk us through the school days and what was different about it. What did you experience that you think might have been different to what most kids had?
Yeah, so I guess I went to a Steiner School. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's quite a more relaxed approach on education. They start you kind of like reading and writing pretty late, and it definitely is a more relaxed kind of environment. I know a lot of people call it hippie Hogwarts. But, yeah, it was a funny place to go, but it was real cool being an athlete and a blatant sort of extreme sports person from a young age. It was pretty cool to go there and sort of get banging from upstairs.
What age did that start for you, Laurie?
What was that, sorry?
What age did the Steiner School start? So was it from high school or was it even before that?
Yeah, that was from when I was about 10 years old. So went through just normal, traditional state school till then, and then went there for sort of the next 6 or 7 years. I was about 16 or 17 when I left. So no, it was cool. I think it's one of those things. It's definitely not for everyone. Yeah. But especially people like me who kind of, I reckon you'd agree that us sort of extreme sports athletes are pretty different mentally to a lot of other people. So for someone like me, I was just such a energetic little shit, really.
Whose decision was it to send you there, Laurie?
It was my dad's and my stepmom's decision, I think. Yeah.
Right.
Nice. And how do you think it's played quite a big role in the person you've become today?
Yeah, I would have thought so. It's quite hard to say, really, because where I live, a lot of people sort of, it's one of those places where everyone seems to know everyone. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of my sort of friend groups growing up and that sort of thing wouldn't have been too far off. But definitely just that support and sort of bigger picture understanding sometimes for each individual was pretty cool to grow up with. It definitely shaped a lot of how I approach certain situations. Yeah.
So how influential has it been in terms of the racing? Were they very supportive towards your sporting aspirations?
Yeah, it's sort of thing that I'd ask for a weekend off to go racing, or sort of like a Thursday, Friday, and it would always be we'd have to put up no fight to get the time off. They really understood it. So yeah, a lot of them I know, like in the school meeting room where the teachers hang out, they keep like on the notice boards how I'm doing even these days, I think. So I think they all like sort of thing where it's quite small numbers. The teachers all come quite sort of personally invested in your future and your sort of stuff. Right. So it was pretty cool. But Bristol's not a big place. Everyone knows everyone. So it's
nice.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. So obviously you said it was a good place to go, being into the extreme sports and just sports in general, things like that. How old were you cast your mind back, how old were you when you realised that downhill was for you and you wanted to have a career in downhill?
To be honest with you, I grew up over the road from a skate park. So that sort of bikes from a very young age was like definitely what I decided I wanted to do. It's sort of thing where my dad got into mountain biking and I followed. I never actually thought, I can't remember the first time I thought this is what I want to do. I was just having a lot of fun riding with my dad, really. So it's just being such a competitive person, I think naturally you just want more and more and more, and that just flows into racing. So to be honest, I've always had quite a serious approach to it, but a lot of the approach has been kind of due to how fun it's been. So
yeah, just a natural kind of, you just followed what you were doing at the time.
Natural curve into the sport, really.
Absolutely. How big a player was your dad in your rise through downhill? I know he's been a whole time.
Yeah, massive, really. It was the sort of thing where, my dad, he's not that old. He's quite a young dad. So I think a lot of it was he wanted to ride his bike and he needed to take me along with him, sort of thing. So all the early days racing, I raced because that's what he wanted to do. So it's pretty natural, like I say.
When did you start racing? Because I know your dad used to do all the Dragon series and stuff.
Yeah.
But your roots in rain kind of starts in 2012 or something like that, I think. Were you racing underage before that? Were you?
I think somehow I ended up doing 3 years in the juvenile category because we didn't know what we were doing. We just turned up and asked if I could race, sort of thing. But yeah, I think I raced a year early, yeah.
Right, okay.
So Wide Open team helped you through your youth years. Were you juvenile with Wide Open as well, or was that just youth?
Just youth, yeah.
Youth. And then obviously you moved over to Trek World Racing. How much of a jump was it jumping from the Wide Open to the Trek setup? Was it a big change?
Oh, it was ridiculous. It was, I can still remember the first time I sort of met up with the guys and looked at the big Trek World Racing truck and saw my name on the side of it. I was just like, what the fuck's going on here? Yeah, it's a huge jump, man. Like, just from, I'd never really done much interviews and stuff like that in the past. And the first team interview we did was like, they got a cinema hall emptied out, and we were against the black screens at the back in front of this big cinema with all the Trek guys from the US there. I was just like, I was so nervous, it was ridiculous. Whole different world, yeah. But yeah, luckily I was on my first year with Trek was with Greg Williamson, Brooke McDonald, and George Brannigan, and Nico Mullally. So it was a pretty cool bunch. It was, in terms of the whole setup, it was big, but pretty soon I realised that they were just doing the exact same thing I was, and they're pretty chill guys.
So the first time I kind of met you, Laurie, was, cast your mind back to National Champs 2014 in Eleithen.
Yeah.
Saturday evening. It must have been kind of 6 p.m. or later. I remember it was still sunny, and we were heading up for a track walk. And on the bottom section, we come across this young lad who's still on the hill, all on his own, pushing up and hitting a section over and over. And it was a line between two trees. And it was, it was bar width plus a couple of inches on either side. And you were hitting it faster and faster. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, I can't remember. Was it real? Well, yeah, was it quite dusty?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I can remember that.
And I remember we chatted to you for a bit, and you explained why hitting that line was so important. And as impressive as it kind of was, the thing that struck me wasn't the line at the time. It was the fact that we'd walked through the car park, and all the other young lads were down at the bottom, messing around, trying to impress the girls and each other, probably making a rut, out of building a jump out of a bit of wood and some bricks. But you had no interest in that whatsoever. You were just there hitting this line over and over again. Have you always had that focus with your racing? Does that come naturally?
Yeah, I think so. It's I think a lot of people would say differently as well, which is quite funny. But that sort of thing's always come so natural to me, that like sort of attention to detail.
Yeah.
I definitely explain myself as being quite meticulous and really kind of, just got a real high attention to detail. So I think stuff like that sort of has always been a part of me. Yeah, I think so.
Cool. You won that weekend, taking the national title in your first year as a junior. A few weeks later, you grabbed a second in Meribel behind Vergier, and then you took a silver medal at the Worlds in half shell a couple of weeks after that, also behind Vergier. Were those the kind of initial moments where you thought, I can do this?
Yeah, I guess so. The first time I stepped on the World Cup box was definitely where a bit of an explosion went on in my head, and I kind of realised that things were starting to kind of tick, the boxes were starting to get ticked, and I was definitely knew that kind of I was doing this for a reason, and there was no doubt in my head that was where I was on my way to being. But definitely that was definitely where it all started to.
That time when I met you in Eleithen, and I remember walking away and saying to Binsey, who I was with, you can see the difference between someone who's going to make it and people who aren't. Yeah, and we could see that in you. And that's why I followed you from there, just to see, in my head where you would make it to. And it's nice to see the way you've gone, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's funny. It's I've never really realised it, but obviously working with Ollie Morris this year, he's been helping me out kind of all through my off season and with training, getting bikes set up and all that. He's going to come and do some line spotting, but he always says to me, that I wouldn't believe the amount of people that don't know what I'm really like.
Yeah.
He says there's a real big sort of kind of charade I seem to put on being this really chill, laid back guy, but it doesn't
It's not like that, really.
Yeah, it's not really like that. It's how I feel most confident, I think.
Yeah.
Giving quite a relaxed atmosphere. So yeah, I think it's almost like a sort of defence mechanism, you know.
Yeah, and I guess because you're in the public eye, it's easy for people to look through the window, get that initial perception from you just from what you portray.
Yeah.
But as you say, they don't really know who you are. Whereas someone like Ollie, who spends all that time with you, knows what's poured into it, knows what you like. And as George just said, like, there's not everyone who can be the best in the world. And to be the best in the world, you've got to live, eat and breathe it. So we can until you do that.
2015, you're a second-year junior. You go second at Lords, second at Fort William, third at Leogang, and then boom, you go on this. I mean, that's an amazing run, but you go on a really amazing run. First at Lenzerheide, first at National Champs at Llangollen, first at Mont Saint Anne, first at Wyndham, third at Val di Sole. You win the World Cup Series, and then gold at Junior World Champs in Val Nord. That's like a hell of a run. Tell us a bit about what it feels like when you're on a run like that, and how you deal with the pressure when you're the favourite to win a race.
Yeah, I guess for me it's that thing. Once I've done it once, it's really on. You just know, mentally that it can happen again. So for me, all the pressure does relieve. I know for a lot of people, they say once you've done it once, it's really hard to do again. But I seem to find, like, throughout everything, whether it be on my surfboard, BMX, skateboard, once I've done one thing I want to do, it seems to be easier to happen again. It's I guess also when it's a first time thing, your team start to realise you can do it. They treat you a bit differently, and all the boxes start to just click by themselves. It's an amazing feeling being there.
When you won that World Cup Series, at what point did you win it? Had you won it before Val di Sole, before the final round?
Yeah. So I won it in Wyndham. I think it was a couple of weeks before. I can't quite remember, but we added up the points, and it turned out I'd won the overall already in Wyndham. And yeah, I think that's why I remember that Val di Sole race. I was so scared of hurting myself before World Champs, because it's one of those things where junior is probably the easiest time ever to try and secure the rainbow. So I was like, God, I'm not going to die a happy man unless I get the rainbow spot. So it's, I think I chilled out a bit on that Val di Sole race, and took home a third in the overall jersey. It was still a really good weekend, but I remember being so nervous before my run, just wanting to hold it in pile for.
Were you more nervous before that run or the World Champs run a few weeks later?
World Champs run for sure.
Yeah. How did you deal with that then? You're the favourite to win. You've just won the overall.
Yeah, well, I was the favourite to win that weekend, apart from Martin Mays, who smoked me at Fort William. So it's I knew he was racing. So that kind of shifted that whole confidence run I was getting going. All of a sudden, there was another kid in the mix who had smoked me earlier on in the year. So I was definitely back in the first time game serious box, and that spun me out a bit at that Val di Sole.
Other than Martin, Laurie, who were your main competitors when you were a second-year junior?
Yeah, if you remember Andrew Crimmins, do you remember him? He was a real fast Aussie junior.
Right. I was going to ask you about this because I went and did some research, obviously, before we've done this podcast, and I saw his name coming up again and again, and I'd never heard of the guy either. But he won, didn't he? He won some World Cups. I think he won in Leogang, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, and he won the first round in Lords, I think it was, as well. So he's still a real fast rider. I think he's I think for some of those Aussie juniors coming over to Europe for the first time, racing the big races, all the travel, all the time away from home, and all that pressure if you've started winning as well is going to be, it's a big job. So I think in those first kind of years, it's quite precarious. It's quite, especially if you're from Oz. So I think it's quite easy to lose the love due to all the travel, all the strain and pressure of just living so far away, I guess.
And also you have to be a certain type of person, don't you? You have to want it and you have to love it, basically.
Yeah, and the other thing is, am I right in remembering? Did he start riding for Kona when he was?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing is, like, he's obviously done very well as a junior, and then if you're not on the best contract and you're having to travel from Australia and you're away from home all the time, you might not be earning that much money. As Laurie says, a couple of races don't go your way, and it might be quite easy.
You start to weigh up the odds and kind of
Exactly.
start to wonder if it's worth it all or not. Yeah.
So you're with Trek and you've won the World Cup Series and the World Champs, and at the end of the season you moved to MS Mondraker. Why did that move come about? Because I'd have thought Trek would have done everything to try and keep you there.
Yeah, I guess the first kind of thing was the Trek World Racing team wasn't going to happen for the next year. And I knew a lot of the riders that I was already teammates had decided to go elsewhere. And it was up in the air to know what Trek were doing. I heard rumours of them being with the Athertons, but maybe not, and maybe this. So it was, I was pretty desperate to secure myself a bit of a spot sooner than later. But I guess also I wanted to draw the line with it's been a good junior sort of couple of years, and it was definitely going to be a big change going to elite. So I also felt like a bit of a big change and a new start will really start to ramp things up. And
almost like you're not scared to change teams, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, kind of. I was a little scared at the start, but it was more a factor of my old team kind of stopping running, and I was just looking at what other options I had on the table. I remember speaking to Marcus when I was in, I think it would have been Andorra Worlds, and just got such a good vibe from the guy. Really, really enjoyed how he kind of was putting everything across, and I've been on the team ever since. So he just had a real good, friendly sort of. Really felt like you're on the same level as him, kind of in what you both wanted, and also how he kind of said he wanted to treat the team. So I was just from speaking to him, really, I just thought it'd be the right thing to do.
Nice. But good memories from the Trek days. Those 2 years were.
Yeah, they were cool, man. It's the 1 year or so me and some of the Trek boys rented a place in Chamonix, so we spent the whole summer together. And
nice.
For me, that just like riding with, especially with Brooke and George, those Kiwis, opened my eyes up to sort of how loose those lads are and how hard they can hit a turn. So it's pretty different to anything I'd sort of done before. It's real fun. Just it was a cool, good fun atmosphere with those boys.
I think I already know the answer to this, but who's the rider on that Trek team that gave you the most help when you were a junior?
Yeah, so Brooke was real cool. He was, I remember on my first sort of, I think it was the first team camp, he sat down next to me and just said, if you want to follow me at races, if you need a hand with anything, just sort of hit me up. So he's real good. He just sort of, one of those dudes, I think, if he decides he likes you, it's on first glance. So, luckily, he was real cool, real helped me out that year.
You've spent most of your kind of pro career with Brooke. Have you spoken to him recently? How's he doing? Yeah,
he seems all right. He's obviously we were all pretty scared about when he broke his back in Montserrat, and so for us it was a big relief, especially someone I'd kind of sort of associate World Cup racing in my job and my career with. So it was a heavy blow to the team, and it's been real cool to see his progress and how hard he's working. But to be honest, he couldn't have picked a better time to do his back anyway. So
do you have any idea when he'll be back?
He wanted to be back for round 3 of the World Cup this year. Was sort of.
He was looking at coming back this year.
He was looking at coming back, but he wasn't sure. I don't think. I'm not sure if he had spoken to the team really seriously about it yet. It was quite a while ago, but that was a marker he set. I think. I think it was probably sort of a good idea, because if if you come back when you are actually completely ready, it's go time. Everyone knows you're completely ready. But if you come back when you're still getting the ball rolling and you tell all the media, you tell your team, your friends, your family, you're just going to go and, you might have done practice and then pulled out. I don't know, might have done qualies and then just, you get used to being in that race environment again. And
just be around.
By the time you're ready to go, you're at home. So I think.
Absolutely.
I can I haven't really spoken to him much about that, but I could kind of understand why he would want to do that. Also, he broke his collarbone last year and it healed like that, and he just started doing real well straight away again afterwards.
So 2016, you had a really solid kind of first season in Elite. You were 8th at Fort William, 9th at Valnord, and you finished 14th in the overall. Then we all headed to Val di Sole for Worlds, and you grab a silver medal. The whole team finished 1, 2, 3. Everyone knows about that.
Yeah.
Talk us through that weekend a bit.
Yeah, that weekend was pretty cool. I remember going in feeling like I was really getting to grips with stuff. I'd got used to being in the elite category. Got my bike real dialed in, because obviously that takes a bit of time when you first kind of move bikes as well. And yeah, my dad was there, and that weekend, for some reason, we just were like, I guess it really felt like the real deal. Your first elite world is like all systems firing. So yeah, my dad was there, and we just got into such a good roll on track. Like, he was being the creative mastermind, coming up with all these crazy lines that no one else was doing. And yeah, it was just a real good week from start to finish. We were working real well with the team, and my dad's up on course. Like, it's good. It's definitely one of those ones where the first 2 runs of the weekend go real well, and then you're sort of on cloud 9 for the rest. It's like, especially with me, any opportunity I get to really go full hammer and tongs for a few minutes, I kind of seize it, because I'm pretty aware of how dangerous it is riding on the limit and the edge every time you go riding. I'm sort of known for being quite a loose guy on camera, but if you watch me in practice, I often, when I watch some of the vital roars and stuff, feel like I'm looking like one of the kind of tamer, slow guys on track. So, no, I love
true,
it.
Jack? Do you think that?
Yeah, as he said earlier, he does always look calculated, and that'll feed into one of the questions I've got later about the Val di Sole run from last year. But
but then when
you're analytical.
Yeah, and when you've got your family at home wanting to give it, you just give it 100%. You've got your friends, you've got your girlfriend, your dad, just wanting you to put it absolutely on the line. It's like, it really is an excuse to just like fully drop the hammer and it kind of be okay. If you go down, you've got pretty serious support there, worlds and stuff. So it's just a real sort of feeling that everyone wants you to just give it 100%, and it's just like takes the mental strain off sort of hurting yourself a bit, I think. So, which is why I think a lot of us really love racing.
Well, when the dust had settled, were you just buzzing to be on the podium, or was there a tiny bit of disappointment that you'd come second?
To be honest, I was so shell-shocked at the time. I was pretty happy. I think also, if I had won it, I feel like there would have been so many interviews, so much pressure, so much stuff go on over the off-season. Yeah. Sort of, you'd be starting to look at contract races and crazy stuff at quite a young age in your first year of elite. So I think getting second on that day for me, looking back on it, I think was the best result possible, because it enabled me to kind of really see that it was that close, but also there was a lot of work that needed to happen, and I could also do it from the same environment that I sort of just got used to in your first year elite. So no, I think that I kind of realised that pretty soon, that it was the best result we could have had on the day that year.
Cool. And do you think there is something about the Mondraker and Val di Sole
Yeah, I guess there seems to be a lot of people who think so. It's done a fair few good results there. It's definitely one of those bikes that is it's just a rough ground eater. So
Yeah. Cool.
rough tracks it seems to always feel the best on.
So winter 2016, I think you headed out to New Zealand, something you've done regularly, I think. Talk us through what motivated that decision and what you've learned from being out there.
Yeah, I guess sort of I had been there before just for a few weeks with my family, and yeah, I guess just sort of getting to know a load of the Kiwis from George and Brooke, and
Yeah.
sort of having a laugh throughout the year, and just the prospect of missing winter, I think was like the idea of that to me was mental. So yeah, packed up and left for there. I got a van. I didn't have a whole lot of cash yet, so I got a van and lived in that for 4 or 5 months out there. So that was an awesome time.
Yeah. And it must have like developed a lot of life skills as doing that, as well as, you know, I suppose it's keeping the fitness and the biking going, but you must have developed quite a lot of life skills while you're out there. The other side of the world, I went and lived on the other side of the world for 14 months, and it changed me quite a lot as a person.
Yeah, I think just being on the other side of the world without your parents, living without it being a race for the first time is quite a eye-opener. It's yeah, you learn that it's pretty hard to manage yourself when it's only you sort of doing your schedule, and just trying to make the most out of your time becomes quite hard without someone at home sort of kind of your trainer, for example, telling you when to train, when to do this, when to do that, and sort of living at home still with your family is pretty hard. It's to be honest, being my first trip away, I would say it was more about the experience that trip than the full-on sort of doing the best thing I possibly could for the next year. It was sort of a lot of the experience was done, and did a lot of real cool stuff, and yeah, met a lot of people. So it's a cool time, but training-wise, I probably would have been better off staying at home where I could get a home-cooked meal every now and again and train with my trainers. But in the whole, it's sort of always feel like you should only do what you really feel like you should do. I don't like to rush where I feel like I'm at in life at all. So it's yeah, young kid who just done pretty well at the World Champs. It was time to go and have a laugh and get as much riding in and bike time as I possibly could to definitely was beginning to start to understand a bit more the mechanics and geometry and different lengths of this and that. So it was good to just go away and ride shitloads and just start to get my head around being a professional athlete off my own back.
So 2017, you had another solid year with your first World Cup podium at Lenzerheide. 2018, you go one better, you go third at Leogang, then second at Val di Sole, fourth at Valnord, finishing fifth in the overall. It's like textbook, isn't it? It's if there's a perfect trajectory to kind of the top, you're on it, aren't you? Are you ticking these things off as you go along?
Well, I guess so. Mentally, I kind of set myself a goal for the year.
Yeah.
And so far, it's almost always been fully completed by the end of the year. But it's as well, I like to set realistic goals for me personally, not anyone else. So yeah, I've spoken quite a lot in the past about sort of taking what the best sort of few athletes were that were my age and what they did in the past, and comparing yourself, and you're like, right, in 2019 that person got a second and did this in the overall. That was what I needed to do too. So it's sort of thing where I just look at what riders have done in the past, and if I couldn't do that at the same age as them, then things weren't going well. So
it's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, it kind of makes it feel like people have done it and why can't you do it as well, sort of thing. So
exactly.
Obviously the sport's always progressing, it's going to be harder and harder to do it, but just basing yourself off what other people have done, I guess, kind of makes it seem pretty realistic.
Yeah, I never thought about that concept before, and
Yeah.
I think I was looking at when I was researching this, I was looking at the previous junior world champions, and I think it was Troy won it twice. I think it might have been 10 and 11, and then Loic the year after. So if they won it in 12 and you won it in, was it 15? So you're kind of, they're at their peak, I would say now. They're at the top of the sport, but you're kind of knocking on the door there a lot younger than they. Well, I suppose Loic was knocking on the door at that age, wasn't he?
Yeah, he definitely was.
Yeah. So on to last season. I think someone told me, it might have been even Joe Breeden or Matt Walker on this podcast, that you didn't race the IXS in Maribor because you didn't want to be bored of the track for the World Cup the week after.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I definitely, for me, I really struggle with if I'm not sort of getting something new out of the track, if I'm not learning something and sort of keeping on building, I really struggle to just smash out run after run after run and still enjoy myself. So normally when I start to get a bit comfortable and a bit sort of, I wouldn't say over it, but a bit bored of the track, I tend to start crashing and I end up going slower than I would otherwise, I think. So it's a hard one, but for the first World Cup, looking back on it, I think I probably should have gone because it's just that first time getting the team together, and it's like getting the band back together and doing your first dress rehearsal. So if you can do that a little bit earlier, then that's going to be quite a lot better. But yeah, to be honest, I don't like to do a race on a track before the track, is just because I want it to be fair for everyone as well as it's kind of.
How quickly does it take you to kind of get bored of a track, and at what point would you start slowing down?
So I've had to do a few test sessions before the day after a World Cup.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're so over it. You've peaked to this point of like the best you can possibly get. Yeah. And you're not going to get there again the next day unless you've crashed in the finals or something like that. So sometimes you'll be testing with 3-lap poles with, they might have brought out a new shock or tyres might have developed or something like that. And you can just never get to that same speed you're at before. And it's so difficult. So for me, if I'm having fun on a track, it's kind of 3-4 days max, and that's it. Went to San Remo this off season. We did 5 days out there. By the third day, I was sort of starting to peak. Fourth day, I started pushing my luck, and on the fifth day, I was like, right, sorry lads, I'm not riding for the rest of today, and just kind of head's not in the game anymore. So yeah, I
3 or 4 days.
Don't like to get too tired and start to make mistakes and get frustrated with yourself, and you start to slip because you know the track so well. So. Yeah.
Well, the first World Cup didn't go too bad. You seeded 4th, finished 9th, 15th at Fort William. You were 12 seconds back on a Maori, which, looking back now on kind of what you achieved last season, is a fair distance. Were you hating on the weather in Fort William?
More than the weather, I was actually really struggling with my bike size. Over the sort of kind of past couple seasons, I'd always run a neck brace, and riding the neck brace to not riding neck brace changes your riding style massively. And for that year, I think I'd taken it off, and being able to sort of be that much further over the bars and that much lower on your bike. Yes, people who ride with neck brace tend to ride quite upright, and people without can get quite a lot more kind of spread over the bike. So my bike began to feel really different and really sketchy to what I did before. And I was definitely no shaming at me. And I was really struggling at the start of the year to try and just get that feeling back that I seemed to have before on the same size bike, but some reason it all changed. So we started kind of a few weeks before that Fort William World Cup to try and get the sizing thing dialed, and we got it a little better for Fort William, but we really hadn't hit the nail on the head yet, and I was getting quite frustrated, sort of getting used to this new sort of riding style, and was very conscious about a style of kind of riding I wanted to have, and what we were getting back from kind of video me and the team helping out with getting it set up. So I was getting quite frustrated trying to get that all right, and it's don't think it really clicked until at least Andorra that year. I think that was the first time that I really started to feel. You get kind of like when I feel good on the bike, you really get like a sense of being almost really cocky, and especially in turns, you just feel like no matter what you do, you're not going down. You just know it's all going to work. It's like a real sense of cockiness, I guess.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really been getting that so far, and wasn't that happy with the sort of replays I was watching back on the Rebel replays. So don't think it all got in a pile until at least Andorra.
Is this all linked to I heard you talk somewhere about changing the body position. Was that before last season? And is that all linked to the neck brace?
Yeah, it was kind of a process over the course of a few years, really. First took the brace off, and then realised I could sort of start to use different techniques and positions and stuff, and just took a couple of years to really get to, I guess, where we're at now, which is always a work in progress. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you took 9th in Andorra, then 3rd in Leger, and then we arrive in Val di Sole.
Yeah, so Val di Sole, high expectations on you to win a senior World Cup after your performances as a junior. Before the Val di Sole win, did you ever feel like you weren't going to manage it, or did you always feel like you were on an upwards curve towards the win?
I don't know. I guess I got the ball sort of rolling quite early on. In the first time I went there, I loved that track, and every time I get in that start gate, I kind of get this good feeling that something could go down there. So definitely knew that it was on if everything went right, and followed that through to race day, and just had one of those moments where you're in the start gate looking at the mountains in front of you, and you're like, I think this is definitely on now, and you just sort of had a general good feeling.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, did you feel like it was yours for the taking going into the weekend, or was that a feeling that developed after you got on the track?
I more had the feeling that it could be on, sort of. I'm very aware that I think anyone in the top 15, if they just lay down a huge run, then my opinion on it is any of us could sort of take the win that day if all the boxes ticked. So definitely thought it could be on, but I don't think no matter how good sort of seasons Loic or Greg or P, for example, might have had in the past, I don't think you can ever sort of say it's yours for sure.
Yeah, exactly. As you just said, there's so many guys who could take it when they laid down a good run. It would be massively arrogant, I guess, to assume it was yours before you even got there. Do you find does it help you or hinder you if you're aware of people around you in the pits and other riders, for example, saying things like, it'll happen soon for you, Laws, or, this kind of vibe that everyone was expecting you to win eventually? Does that help you build up confidence, or is it a bit of a negative pressure?
I guess for me, it helps me build confidence compared to if kind of no one said anything. So depends. If it's flat out in your ear all day, every day, I guess it could be a bit much, but definitely not as bad as no one saying ever any sort of time. So
absolutely.
No, I guess it's I buzz off good feedback.
Nice. So talk us through the feeling when you won that race then.
I was insane. Literally no putting that one into words, really. It's definitely had this feeling of one day I could actually retire a happy man. Whenever that may be, you just feel like this got a huge sense of everything I've been working for. No matter how fun it's been, in my head it's always been to reach that level and win a World Cup one day. So it's a big weight off my shoulders. I think it's sort of just knowing you hadn't wasted a lot of time in the gym and really slaving your ass off and making all those commitments. I mean, it's hard to imagine when you're not actually racing in the sport how much dedication and sacrifice go into it, kind of growing up socially. I mean, we've got a whole off season. Like I say, I've been to New Zealand, had whole off seasons at home, done my fair share of partying and having a laugh with all of them. But it really does require a lot of sacrifice and just really knowing that it was all worth it and that it did feel as good as I hoped it would feel when it happened. So I guess until you actually achieve something that you've been working so hard towards, there's almost a bit of a scare that when it does happen, it might not quite feel like you sort of hoped it would. So no, it was kind of really hard to put into words how I felt at the time. It was quite emotional for me and my family and stuff. It was just a cool day.
Can I just ask you, Laurie, we talked a little bit earlier about you being on this trajectory. Was that the goal for last season, to win a World Cup?
Yeah, if you spoke to definitely my trainer or my dad or myself, I would say that was the goal for sure. Yeah. If I was going to keep up with a lot of what brilliant riders had done in the past, then yeah, the goal was definitely to get one under the belt this year.
Nice. So you may not remember, but I was actually following you down in Val d'Isole finals after qualifying 7th. Personally, I love the vibe at the top. I obviously don't get to enjoy it as much as you do. But if you are coming down late in the day, there's not many riders up there. It's not as chaotic, nice long time gaps. I have a routine that I go through to help control my emotions when I'm up there for that kind of 3.5 minute gap between the riders. I won't get in the gate until there's about 2 minutes to go. When I'm in there, I'll kind of maybe have a little look around, chill out, might have a little think about the track, keep myself calm. Goggles don't go on until there's less than a minute to go. That day, I remember the rider before you leaving, I can't remember who it was, and I remember seeing you roll straight into the gate, goggles straight on, and you sat for 3.5 minutes, pedaling backwards, hands on your bars, looking down the track, head kind of bobbing a bit. Like you looked like you were about to go into battle. And I remember even saying to my dad, who was with me at the top, like, there's a man on a mission. My question is, was that routine that day what you always do, or were you just so into it that was something different? Can you remember? Talk us through it.
Yeah, I guess I sort of could say I warm up in a similar manner. I guess for me, really looking out into the mountains and getting a bit of sort of bringing it all down a bit is quite important to me. It kind of really gets my head in the zone and just get some good breathing going, look ahead. I find just from like reaching out and looking out over the hills and stuff, you take yourself out of this really serious, nervous little bubble that you're actually sat in. So you're breaking out of that a bit and getting a bit of reality. And you'll know from being a racer that going in the gondola on the way up on your turbo trainer, your mind just wants to wander into worst case scenario. What would happen if you nose case that rock gap? What would happen if this happened? What would happen if you launched off that burn because your brake failed? So it's like quite hard to cage all that. So I guess really going in early and just bringing myself down the notch is, it's the one for me. And as 30 seconds roll around, I snap back into the moment and just really sort of feel quite a lot more relaxed about it all, I guess.
Nice. Cool. So was that run full fire from the get-go with more speed than you'd planned? You mentioned a couple of minutes ago that there's 15 or so riders who, if everything goes right on the day, they could lay down that run.
Yeah.
Was that the pre-planned run that you executed, or on the day was it more than that?
Compared to previous podium runs I've had and also good runs at Val di Sole I've had, I actually felt tamer than any of my runs in the past. I think because it was kind of looking back on the run, for me, I rode exactly how I wanted to. It was nothing like the previous runs I'd done there. It was a lot smoother, kind of use my legs a lot on a track like that. You've really got to kind of, I know when you're nervous, it's so easy to start taking it all on the arms and getting real into it, but you've just got to kind of take a step back, let your legs do all the work. They're the biggest muscles in your body, and just putting a bit of a different spin on it, which is compared to other tracks like Leogang, you've got to be so up and into it and ready, and you've got to be ready to really sprint, pump every obstacle. It's just not as much of a rough track, so just being able to kind of sit into your legs and look ahead on that track and relax is pretty key. So yeah, it actually felt easier than previous runs that I've had podiums, for sure. It's a weird one.
Yeah, I like your answer, because I would agree from watching the footage. Obviously, I've watched it a few times because my run's right after yours, so I've tuned in and seen it a few times. And it almost makes me angry, because Claudio's commentary, a couple of times he comments on how, I don't know if he says sketchy or he says something, and I completely disagree with him. Because my next question was, did you feel like you nearly crashed at any point? But of the bits that are on the camera screens, you look completely in control.
Yeah, no, it felt like a good run. I mean, visibly, you could see I was just cruising in places where other people were pedaling. So felt like it was actually fairly controlled compared to sort of a few of my other runs in the past. It's obviously a World Cup run, so you're obviously cracking on, but compared to a lot of runs in the past, it was definitely held back a bit. And I know that Claudio likes to play devil's advocate most weekends. That's water off a duck's back, because he does that every time with me. He's bad cop, good cop, bad cop, I think.
There you go.
It's pretty surprising for me that you can win one and
feel like that,
mostly in control quite a lot of the way.
Yeah, I guess you just found that rhythm, and once you were off, because you won by almost 3 seconds, and for how tight racing was last year, that's a big achievement. After doing that run and the description you've just given it, how hard do you feel it is to now go on and keep repeating those runs that are going to be at that level?
Yeah, so the next weekend in Lenzide, I was on cloud 9. I was just like throwing whips and just doing big jumps, shrouding turns, really loving, like you say, on cloud 9, really just like
victory
throwing it sideways for the media and having a good time, and felt really good. But at the same time, it was such an emotional spike. That sort of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, realising that you'd sort of won a World Cup. It was hard to get in the zone for Lenzide, funnily enough. I know a lot of people have that thing like I actually had in junior, like you say, when I got on a roll. But that one was such a gnarly achievement for me, kind of realising that you ticked off such a huge box. So it was hard to get into the zone there. But once that weekend had been and gone, I think we went to World Champs then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which my race run in World Champs was exactly the same. I kind of felt really on it, and just had one of those things, like I said, for Val di Sole, where you're just in the zone, all the boxes ticked. It's another big rough track, taking it all in the legs, and it really was going. That I would say before I got my puncture in Montanani, and even after I got the puncture, I'd say is some of the best riding I've ever done in my life. It was, I think I won. I can't remember if it was a top 3 or I won a split, but I won a split in Montanam with a rear flat, which was like, looking back on it, even though I had on flat, I was so in the zone and it was all clicking in like it did in Valdesoa. Kind of, it was so relatable to how I knew I could personally, or how I needed to ride for it to happen. That I was just in such a zone, got to the bottom, and there was that Minars gap, I think they call it, and I just tried to hit it with a full flat and ended up down off the bushes and ended up 7th, I think, which was, for anyone who doesn't know that story, isn't a great result, but for me, that was like, that was honestly one of my favourite runs of my career. It's like just to be that in the zone with a flat, just somehow keeping it all going. It felt awesome, especially after kind of Brooke hurting himself that badly the day before. It's or couple days before. It was pretty hard to get over that and get into the zone for racing. So I was quite proud of myself that weekend for sort of not letting that faze me.
Definitely.
Getting into that zone and continuing in that zone even when shit was going really badly from kind of start to finish of that trip. So I think once I know how that feeling is, I think I can do it again. Yeah.
So my kind of train of thought on memory of last season was that you win Val di Sole, and then I saw an interview, kind of, you could see the spike, you've called it, the emotional spike. And then I saw a thing saying how exhausted you were the following week after, and you were hard to focus. And then, mistakenly, I thought you'd gone kind of off the bubble then. And I thought, he's achieved this massive thing this season. Fair play. How would you focus again? But then when, like you say, 6th in Lenzerheide, I had you down as being 6th at Worlds, 12th in Snowshoe. You end the season 7th in the overall, much closer to 5th and 6th than Mark Wallace in 8th. Do you feel like you have a place now at the top table of downhill, especially after that World Cup win?
Yeah, I mean, certainly after the winter I've put in this off-season, it was kind of, I could have probably pushed for a little more money on my contract, could have probably pushed for a bit more money in sort of different aspects of the whole thing, but I decided with my team that I didn't want to change my contract, but I wanted to get my mechanic more pay and to hire someone that was sort of my skills coach, as you like to say. He does all the on-course line spotting and for the rest of the team as well, but someone I can work in, week out at home, and decided to try and really push for kind of the full bubble rather than just my personal package I can run away with. So I decided to work on the team and to try and really step up my trainer. We had a new bike to develop as well. So I guess there was so much going on this year that it really required a completely new kind of approach. I moved out, got a flat in Bristol, and just definitely really took a fine-tooth comb to it and gave it a good crack. I've never approached a year before kind of that seriously, and that motivated. And also, I think just moving out of home, getting your own bills, your own actual adult life going is very different to sat in your parents' house with it kind of, or being a bit of a bubble. So I think just working on a lot of maturity outside the sport and outside of cycling completely, and really just trying to just get all my sort of organisational stuff more of a base, and get the full package running a bit smoother was sort of something that had never been even close to done in the past. And being home all winter, I live on the same road as my trainer pretty much, so just every gym membership, I mean, I didn't have a gym membership this off season. Every session was with my trainer. So you really can't slack. You had to be on it. So yeah, it's pretty cool being trusted to be able to develop a bike and kind of have the leverage to make the team better in the whole. It required a lot more people management from me, kind of working kind of more with my mechanic and kind of skills coach. We were at home, so took a lot of I guess it's quite hard to explain. It's just so different. It took a lot more maturity, I guess, to make it work. But yeah, it's a shame it didn't kind of get to the point where we could have tested to see if it was working, because it's such a different approach.
Well, we've got some questions obviously about the bike and stuff, but there's a good place to take a quick break. We'll be back with the Revolution Bike Park big questions after these messages. On to the Revolution Bike Park big questions then. 2 from me to start with, and then 2 from Jack. Question number 1, what's your favourite track on the World Cup circuit?
Favourite track's got to be Val di Sole because of the memories, and it's just so raw. It's like hardly man-made from start to finish, so rough, it's a pure mountain biking. It's it's in its rawest form, and it's one of those ones where people call it a man's track sort of thing. So I think just how raw it is, and the whole vibe of that's got to take it. But also I like Andorra's another good one. It's another sort of real rough long track, but just those turns in the middle section, unreal. That's why I ride a bike for that sort of stuff.
Have you picked the 2 steepest tracks there? What'd you say?
Yeah, maybe I have actually, yeah.
Do you think being a kind of shorter rider, it helps you on the steep stuff?
You know, I've had my opinions on what tracks suit shorter riders, what tracks suit taller riders over time, but I feel like I'm at a point now where I've done well at most of them. Like I've podiumed at Leogang before, which is the polar opposite, if you know what I mean. So I guess it's I'm more suited to the steeper, rougher stuff. But I've surprised myself along the way these days with other venues as well. So it's, to be honest, I'm not really sure. I'm still to find the perfect sort of size downhill rider and what that means. It seems to be that anyone can win at any track. It's really weird. So pretty cool. I don't really know many other sports where you could get me, Danny, and Payet all on one world's podium at the same track. It's like every different type of rider all in one go. So I don't think it matters. Just get on your bike and go fast.
So question number 2, which section of track on the World Cup circuit do you find the most difficult to race? Which section of A track?
Cool, that's a hard one. Oh, that is a hard one, actually.
So I thought... sorry, go on.
There's often struggle at Fort William in going from hauling ass off the back of your bike, just hanging on, to all of a sudden you're over the brakes in the tight, and then all of a sudden you've got to be this powerhouse at the bottom. It's so you've really got to be kind of adaptable the whole way down to what you're riding. You can't just set into one position. So to be honest, the section changes in Fort William are the hardest for me. Just adapting that quickly to the completely different terrains. Yeah, pretty hard.
Cool. So any World Cup track that you really want to win on?
Fort Ville's got to be one.
Nice.
I've had shown sort of little moments of brilliance in Fort William before, and won a time practice there once and had little snippets of starting to ramp up into it. But I had such a big crash this year. Well, no, not this year. And I think it was my first year on Mondraker or my second year on Mondraker there, and it did take me back a bit. So I've never done that well there since after that crash. I think I just casted a bit of a grey area over it, just because of that big.
Whereabouts was the crash, Laurie?
It was on those big 3 steps halfway down. Like
is that where Tani did her? She
just
crashed
in front of that, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But I think I've got my head around it now. I've realised that most of the reason why I haven't sort of gone with it in the past couple of years have been due to my own head, I think. So yeah, would love to win there. Be a good sort of personal achievement for me, really struggling there in the past as well.
Yeah, nice. So you're not known for your performances at domestic events. I don't think you disagree with me there. Why do you think that is?
Just UK events, you mean? Yeah. Yeah. For me, during the season, I'm quite conscious of just keeping my mind and body sort of really intact for World Cups. So I find it quite hard to motivate myself for kind of putting it all on the line on those sort of events. I'm not on a British team or anything like that, so I drive to the race in my van. I don't get prize money if I do well there. Which isn't a part of it for me anyway. But it's all of these things do stack up to being sort of less. It's not as much of an ordeal in your head compared to
risk to benefit kind of thing.
Yeah. So a lot of the time I've just enjoyed a bit of downtime and using them as a bit of a tool to keep in the game and keep this kind of working towards things going, but never really feel that nervous for a British run or really.
Yeah.
I'm not so disappointed if I don't do well or stuff like that. But
do you aspire to be British national champ?
Yeah, I think you can't be a world champ if you haven't been your country's champ along the way. So yeah, it is actually a really big goal of mine. But I kind of touched on it earlier on in the podcast that I only selfishly enough do things as and when I feel like it's the right time. So throughout the past few years, I've sort of not had a control on how I've looked at those races. My mind's just decided that that's how it would go, sort of thing. So it's one of those things that I'm sure I'll start to get a bit of a desire to do in the next couple of years. I know I definitely sat down with Ollie Morris and put a big gold star next to national champs this year. I really was planning on giving it a bit more of a go. So yeah, British races are starting to kind of creep back into the equation. Now I've found my feet in elite and things just taking over like the day job, you know. I know how to race now. I know everyone in my team. I know how the big boys operate. So just having a bit more time to actually spend on doing other things is just going to come natural. Yeah.
Nice. On to 2020 then. You signed with Red Bull in the off season. Aside from the helmet, what advantages does it bring?
Oh man, it's ridiculous. I mean, all your sort of media and your support you get if you get injured or stuff, it's just kind of something like that is one thing, but there's a sort of brand where you could have the craziest dream at night, come up with something insane. Everyone else would be like, "What are you on about?" And they'd be like, "Yep, let's do it." So it's like one of those things where I've been quite come up with kind of a solid idea. I've pitched a couple little ones to them that I'm kind of getting it going. But yeah, just that ability to come up with something crazy and
make it
have
real.
the budget and the kind of people that really want to back it is amazing feeling. It's like such a door opener. It's insane. It's
nice.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh, that's cool. So obviously racing's postponed. Were there any specific goals you'd set for Loser before we found out we weren't going? Anything you want to share with us there?
Yeah, I've definitely touched on this in the past with other people as well, but once you've done it once, then you know you can do it, and you stop kind of the whole peaking and troughing your season. Like, I'd have rounds where I'd be like, right, I need to get top 10 at this one. I'd have rounds where I'd be like, right, hit that, win. So it's the sort of thing where your season's peak and trough for you, especially for your energy and stuff like that. And it even goes down to on course, how you treat your race run. So if you're sort of in the past, I've definitely been kind of knowing that in certain sections I might have to take it slightly easier than others so I can manage to sprint for this jump after it, or sort of take it easy through the woods at Fort William so you've got some lungs to sprint the bottom. But now I've had those extra couple of years, and now I've had that extra experience, and also had a run that was 100% from top to bottom, and it got me a win. Just for me, seems so much less strain on my brain than having to work out which rounds I shouldn't give it 100%. As silly as that sounds, but sometimes, especially for your overall in the points, you should kind of structure it. But just knowing now that every race is going to be 100%, every turn, every rock, every berm, sort of just makes it quite a lot easier to work out in your head. If you've got one thing to remember, just go for it. I think it's going to be easier than this big list of sort of kind of things to do. So yeah, I was really looking forward to just being able to give it 100% all the time. It just makes it seem so simple to me. Just get in the start gate and go as sort of as ham as you want.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, why not?
Nice. So we've touched on how much testing you've done this winter to get the new bike ready. New frame, 29 up front, 650B at the back.
Yeah.
In terms of the bike and the testing and everything, were you ready to go racing, or has this delay given you a little bit of an advantage, do you think?
Yeah, the bike got to a stage where I was happy to race it on the last day of off-season riding that I had planned before going to Loser. So it was really tight. We had problems already with the virus and the prototype frames we had planned arriving, because their factories got shut down before we did here, obviously. So we've kind of been battling with this virus thing for, I guess, quite a lot longer than a lot of other people our side of the pond would have. So yeah, getting the bikes in time was really stressful, and a few of the things just took a while to get going. But it was pretty cool being able to work with all the boys. They were so on it. It was ridiculous. We were so switched on, and kind of, it definitely wasn't for lack of trying. So it was hard, but we managed to get it dialed on. Honestly, I'd planned my whole off season in October, scheduled every downhill ride I was going to have, and I was happy on the very last day of the off season riding I'd scheduled, with like an hour of daylight left. So it's so close. But yeah, for me, I'm one of those people that if I'm confident and feeling that cockiness on the bike, almost, it's a funny word to use, but it's that sort of
How much input have you had into the new frame, Laurie? And what are the kind of main benefits you were trying to achieve with it? Because the previous version was ahead of its time with the geometry, I think.
Yeah, so I guess the main thing we decided, and Mondrake had decided, was they wanted it to be a little more progressive in the bottom out and a little more supple and easy going off the top. So just getting that small bump sensitivity really, really kind of fluid and progressive enough to take the big hits. And that was most of the kind of the strategy behind it. It was it's a similar looking bike, it's similar looking links, it's all quite similar, but it's just got this new sort of thing going on it. It looks badass, man. It's a cool bit of kit, but yeah, just it's a slightly bit bigger. They wanted to go a little bit bigger on the bike sizes, but yeah, the kinematics are slightly different, and yeah, it's pretty cool feeling that sort of first tapped out run you do on a bike that you've kind of helped develop from scratch. It's like worrying at times that you might not get to where you think the bike should be raced, or no matter that, go to production. So it's weird. It's not all about you anymore. You're definitely worrying a little bit about what feedback comes out your own mouth, because that bike will be on a shop floor someday, and it'll be your fault if it doesn't sell at all. So it's just difficult to get right. I think it's a cool project.
Where were you testing on that last day? When you said you were happy, where was that, in Loser or?
Yeah, I was in Loser then. For Fox testing.
And on the last day, you were like, right, we're there.
Yeah, pretty much.
You mentioned Fox. You're on the new 49s. How are you getting on with those?
Yeah, good, man. I think that was one of the real helps in getting this new bike, though, being able to get on some new equipment, which was probably slightly more suited with what we wanted. And yeah, the guys at Fox pretty much just dialed it in a matter of days that was taking us weeks to do. So it's like, yeah, they really got things going. It's after kind of me and my team going down such a road in the off season, having them kind of cast a bit more knowledge on because the new Fox stuff's got shorter offsets and that sort of stuff. So having them kind of cast some knowledge on what parts of the bike doing that could be affected other than the actual offset. So having them help with balancing it all out and getting those last few final touches was real cool. It's crazy what those guys can do.
So any ideas when the frame will be available to the public, the new Mondraker?
Well, they wanted to get it out before the end of this year. I think they at least wanted to have a bike that could go to production, but given all that's going on right now, it's going to be really hard. The next development of one of the prototype bikes hasn't arrived yet due to the whole thing as well, I think. But it's a hard one. It's like the question of when are we going to go racing again? How long is a bit of string? It's pretty.
Exactly.
I don't know. All I'm worried about now is just sort of making sure I'm doing the right things at home, and I'm happy with that bike. I know I can race on that, so I don't know. Everyone's been working so hard to get to the point that we're at, and now that we're having to be forced to take a break, I think everyone's just grabbing a brush of fresh air and relaxing a little bit. Yeah,
too right. So, assuming we do go racing this year, what goals can you share with us? What does Laurie Greenland want to do in 2020?
Only thing I want to do is go as hard as possible at every race. That's the game plan.
Right.
I guess outside of just simply race runs, I want to do some more media stuff. Really, like I say, worked a lot on my kind of home life and making that more professional and getting everything way more organised. So just start to become a bit more kind of on my game at home, really starting to kind of get into that high-end professionalism. I think it'd be good.
Nice.
Just 100% every weekend and work on my media and professionalism.
So rather than making a goal that you're not in control of, which would be, for example, win the overall, because obviously there's other things at play there. You can't control what anyone else does. Your goal's more just something you're in control of, ride 100% every race run. Yeah, I think so. It's
if you're riding 100% every run, you want to win every run. So it's I guess it's a different way of saying I want to win as many of them as I can. There's no beating around the bush. I want to drop out the start gate going for the win every week, and I feel like what I've done over the off season is the best I could have done to try and achieve that.
Yeah, nice. Any venues that you don't like the look of that are on the calendar? Obviously, we've lost Croatia and we've lost Fort William, but the rest.
Yeah. No, the rest of them I'm quite a big fan of, actually. I really like the last 4 races. They kind of stack up real good after the break. You've got sort of 4 really good tracks there in a row. So, nah, to be honest, I was pretty stoked with how it's looking the whole way through. I think you've got a lot of diversity. I wouldn't like every track to be like Val de Sol. I wouldn't like every track to be like Leger. So having a bit of diversity means the best man is going to win. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I'm stoked for.
It looks to us like MS Mondraker has a kind of great setup at the World Cups. How important do you think that is?
Yeah, having the good setup at a race is definitely pretty essential. I think some teams go above and beyond. Like my team's got a pretty fancy setup. It's got a massive canopy and 2 pods off to the side. And
I've seen it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's real cool to have. I think it all comes to play when the weather's bad. I think as long as you've got a good enough setup that when the weather gets really bad, you can handle it, then it's fine. But no, it's always cool being in a dial pit space, but it's definitely not essential. You know, you see how the syndicate setup was when Josh was winning as an athlete. You know that they were doing it out of I think were they doing it out of easy ups then? I can't remember, but
I remember. They've always
it was a normal warning anyway. It was nothing crazy, so you kind of know you can do it off a smaller setup. But yeah, it's cool, kind of having that cool space. When my friends and family come, it's amazing to have a sort of space where everyone can get involved in. It's pretty cool. It's amazing big, yeah.
Cool. Well, hopefully we'll all be back at the races soon. Thanks ever so much for taking the time to come on the show tonight, Laurie. It's been fabulous chatting to you, and best of luck for 2020 and beyond. What, are you 23 now?
Yeah.
23 and still improving every year. I think it's pretty safe to say the future's looking pretty bright for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, I've got you back for the win this year, mate. So fingers crossed.
Hey. Yeah, hopefully we race. I really don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah, God.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get a few in at the end. It's going to be hard to be ready when it comes, but I think same for everyone. Stay to it. Cheers, boys.
Cool. Well, where's the best place for people to keep track of your progress? Is it Instagram?
Yeah, I guess Instagram. Over the few weeks, I've planned kind of a bit more structure to it because it's the only thing that I can do to maintain my sort of presence on the circuit this year. So I guess we're going to have to start doing that. It's hard for me because I like I said at the start, I like to let the riding do most of the talking and live a life outside of riding when you're off the bike as well. So it's kind of, I've definitely not been someone who chucks out millions of bits on social media, but I do really enjoy it, mostly because I don't feel like I've got that much time to. So yeah, definitely got a bit of time on my hands and I'm stoked to do some projects with Red Bull and stuff like that as the year goes on.
Cool. I think it's at Laurie Greenland _.
Yeah, that's the one.
Cool. Jack, do you want to mention yours?
Yeah, so same as what I've said the last couple of podcasts. Got my Instagram there, which is Jack Reddin _MTV. And then got the Mountain Bike Live series on YouTube. Just search Jack Reddin. I think I'm going to put out like Laurie said, we've got to do something at the moment. So I'm going to put out like a training at home kind of day in the life video potentially next week.
Yeah.
Kind of following through what I do on a training day. So I'll put that out maybe next week. But yeah,
cool.
Where?
Yeah.
Cool.
No, it's hard for me because I find it quite hard to like do a selfie cam and take myself seriously. It's like some people are real good at doing it, and I find I cringe out of myself. I don't feel like I'm that good at doing it. But yeah, I'd love to set my camera up somewhere and start doing silly stuff in front of it.
Well, we're at Making Up the Numbers Racing on Instagram. Thanks very much to our sponsors for the podcast, Hope Technology, Revolution Bike Park, Schwalbe and SingleTrackWorld.com. We'll be back with another episode very soon. Thanks very much for listening.